Sebastian's going to stay on, and his colleague Ramiro Gomez Baranaga, they're going to discuss their new organization, Green Map, and the iTrust platform.
But let me thank you, Randy, and the colleagues of Atlantic Council for this opportunity, and also fantastic Michael Liebreich, our board member, for this unique opportunity to launch the iTrust. Let me first starting by telling you who we are, what we do, where we come from. So GreenMap is an impact-driven non-profit organization. We are based in Brussels. GreenMap is funded independently, funded by philanthropy. We work for governments. We are independently funded to support governments in their renewable energy procurement processes. The team of GreenMap is led by former government officials with experience in the global south. We develop tools and instruments for scaling up cheaper and faster renewable energy in the developing world. GreenMap is inspired by the Renewable program. The Renewable program is a program that we created for the government of Argentina. A very interesting procurement program for renewables that really changed the matrix, changed the mix in a very in an extreme, I would say, difficult investment environment, as we were discussing before. In that context, almost from scratch, from zero, we picked a few weeks ago almost 30% of renewable energy. We were able, by implementing innovative tools, to bring $7 billion of dollars in from the private sector in new renewable energy projects. We're talking about 5 gigawatts, and we're talking about this in a context, in a really difficult context, sorry, context and environment, in which not only the country suffered and was about and was immersed in a profound energy and economic crisis, but also a country that has um, the fourth shale oil reserve and the second shale gas reserve in the world. So in that context, we were able to bring a lot of capital and investment in the renewable energy
I
field.
would like to lead this presentation with a couple more, please, with some images. Another one, please, with some images to show you how this iTrust works. Another, please. Okay. Uh, I think we are all know and agree that we have to scale renewables in the global south. Uh, but this won't happen on an asset by asset basis. We need to have a replicable, programmatic, and locally sensitive instrument to provide host governments with the right balance to unlock faster deployment of renewables at an affordable prices uh, without reinventing the wheel. I think this is the major uh, problem we have. Unmitigated risks in developing countries deter and delay long-term investments and increase energy generation costs. And this is paradoxical because uh, riskier and poorer countries have the best renewable resources. And if they had access to international capital markets, they should also have the best and cheapest energy generation costs. So uh, in our understanding, we have to work with governments to in program-based schemes to unlock markets and uh, and mobilize financing. We think that guarantees, program-based guarantees, together with efficient action schemes, does that. Unlock markets, mobilize financing, are replicable. So we, as GreenMap, we are independently funded, and we are committed to work with governments of developing countries at no cost for them to implement solutions. Next, please. What is the iTrust? What is our solution? We propose to set up an international guarantee trust for renewable energy to offer program-based guarantees that covers off-taker liquidity risks and certain country-level risks that affects projects bankability and market attractiveness. And when we say program-based, means that the guarantees will be automatically granted to those projects awarded in competitive and in eligible tender process across developing countries. The main features of the iTrust is that it will be incorporated under foreign private law, meaning that it will be independent and isolated from domestic political decisions. And the previous panel was very clear on that. This is of most importance because a tenor of the PPA typically involves 5 government administrations in most democratic nations. The iTrust, it will also be managed by a world-class trustee and audited by a tier 1 audit firm. It will be governed by a board of trustees, independent and qualified. It will also have simple and stable rules in order to avoid bureaucratic structures. And it will be simple and flexible to provide speed of implementation. So next, please. That's the iTrust itself as an instrument. And what is the iTrust going to provide to the IPPs and to the investors in order to mitigate risks? We think that risks in developing countries have to be properly allocated. So those risks that the government control should be allocated to the government, and those commercial risks should be allocated to the private sector. So the iTrust will initially provide a program-based 2-tier guarantee. The first one is a revolving energy payment guarantee, which will be a buffer, a liquidity buffer, to cover delays in monthly energy payments under the relevant offtake agreement. And the revolving feature is that the liquidity guarantee, unlike letters of credit, will still be effective as the off-taker or the host country reimburse the monies to the iTrust. This revolving energy payment guarantee will be automatically granted to all awarded IPPs at no cost for them. And who will fund this guarantee account? Donors and the host country, in order to mitigate and have the governments have certain skin in the game. On the other side, and to cover country risks, we will have the early termination payment guarantee. That will be activated upon the occurrence of certain triggering events affecting the off-taker or certain country level. And upon the termination of the offtake agreement and the default of the government to pay the early termination amount. This guarantee, in our experience, it is very important to tackle those country risks allocated to the government. This guarantee will be optional, so the tenor of the guarantee and the amount to be covered by the guarantee will be chosen by the bidders. This will give them the flexibility to adjust their level of coverage to their own perception of the risk and the market conditions. So the IPPs will have to pay a fee for this guarantee specifically, which will be cost reflective to the iTrust funding conditions. And who will fund this guarantee account. It will be funded by donors, MDBs, institutional and private investors. But the iTrust will conduct competitive processes in order to obtain the cheapest available funding conditions. So we think that these guarantee schemes, two-tier, program-based, offered prior to the bids, together with effective auction schemes, will unlock financing, will improve bankability, will reduce cost of capital, and in the end, will extend debt tenors. So this type of program create value above its cost. So that's our solution for developing countries. And last, in order to attract investment to the iTrust and to grant these guarantees, next please, we need to point on the fact that guarantees have the highest leverage above direct grants or loans. So we estimate that the financial costs associated with the funds to be committed or transferred to the iTrust guarantee accounts to be leveraged by a factor of 20 times into investments attracted into renewable energies across the developing world.
Honored to have the presence here with Fabricio Longin, partner of the firm. So thank you very much, Fabricio, for being here today. It is a tremendous support what Clifford and yourself and your team are being doing and providing to us in the development of this unique tool. Thank you, really. Thank you very much. Do you want to say a word?
And responsible for the Latin American practice at Clifford Chance. And as a firm, we are truly delighted to be supporting on a pro bono basis this effort of Green Map. Been doing project finance for 25 years now, and we've seen many guarantee schemes, but never one that's really trying to start from scratch, which is the interesting part of this, which is, to the extent you can design a guarantee program, taking the pros and cons of everything we've seen as a firm, what would you do? That was the question that was posed to us, and it's fascinating. But I think it's a great exercise, and that, if implemented in the end, will really prove to be one of the financial tools, the innovative financial tools we were discussing before. Just one issue I wanted to point it out in terms of speed of execution, which is one of the themes of COP26 and the panels we've participated in here. Many times we find ourselves with programs that are being launched by governments that are designed poorly, that have been launched on the basis of very weak documentation, on the assumption that the less friendly you are to the private sector, the more you are protecting the public good. You end up with long negotiations after the fact to make those documents bankable, and that takes a lot of effort, takes a lot of money, but takes a lot of time, which is one of the priorities we're discussing here. So a unique feature of this program is that together with the guarantee scheme, you will have a set of documents, PPAs and associated documentation, that will have to, aim to at least achieve the right balance between the private sector interest and the public sector interest, so that when you get to the market, you get to the market with a bankable document, and you avoid all the time involved typically in this type of situation. So happy to be on board, and congratulations again for the initiative.
So thank you again for joining us. Now we're going to pivot to an analysis of one of the big announcements at the COP.